where brevity is paramount.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name's Chet Roivas, with me is John Denton.
What's up?
Here's the deal. If you've not listened before, basically John and I are going to take it in turns over the next 40 minutes to count down the 10 games that we've been playing all week. Number 10s are going to be the games we've been playing the least. We're going to make our ways to number 1, where we're going to get to the games we've been spending the most time with. So yeah, that's it. And we're going to try and do it in 40 minutes if we can. That's it, yeah. So let's go. John, number 10.
Let's do it. No, number 10 this week for me is Death Rally on the iPhone. Have you heard of Death Rally?
No.
It's an old PC racer from Remedy, you know, Alan Wake's Remedy.
How old?
Not that old. I don't actually know how old the PC version is, but the iPhone version is nice. It kind of, you remember Rock and Roll Racing on the SNES?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that, but with... No, that had guns, actually. I was going to say it's like that with guns, but that had guns. Yeah, it's similar to that, but it controls nicely on the touchscreen. iPhones are quite good for this. It's not a top-down racer, like, you know, that kind of angle that's halfway between top-down and... You know what I'm saying?
Isn't it isometric?
Yeah, I guess that's what you call it.
I think it is.
And yeah, there's quite a nice control system on the iPhone for that, because you can kind of direct your thumb the exact direction the car would go, so you can take some real nice sweeping corners. Just works really well. Loads of options in there, and you pick up like spare parts as you're driving around for the next car, which is kind of a unique progression system. I've not seen that in any other racing game. I guess the only problem is it seems to make my iPhone like unbelievably scarily hot, which makes me not want to play it for very long. But yeah, apart from that, it's a fine little racer from the studio.
It heats up the iPhone because does it look like it's pushing it?
Well, no. Well, the 4S is a powerful thing, so it feels like it. I mean, it looks like it's just chundering along nicely. It doesn't creak, or there's no frame rate drops or anything like that. But it gets hot like a laptop does, which is slightly worrying because it never gets hot for any other reason. So yeah, I didn't want to play it for too long in case it exploded.
Freebie?
I think it was 69p or 199 or something.
No.
I can't remember.
Worth it?
I think it's a nice little game. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the best one of its type on the iPhone. Certainly in the top 5 of that sort of deal.
All right.
Yes, it's not like one of those ones I say jump on the App Store immediately and get it. But if you want a bit of Remedy's history, pre Alan Wake, I think post Max Payne. Yeah, just see what they've been up to, those crazy Finns.
All right. Genuine. Okay, my number 10 is a game that a mate asked me to play because he wanted me to talk about it on this podcast, purely because I thought he must have thought it would be funny. It probably won't be, but I'll do it anyway. It's called Surprise Bullfight.
I played that.
No, you didn't, did you?
I saw his Facebook message, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
I forgot I'd even played it.
What did you reckon?
I thought, what the fuck is this shit? I turned it straight off.
I mean, it's hard to... You can't give it a kicking because it was clearly... At first, I thought they were trying to be a bit off the wall with the way, the story is like giants live in the woods, their hearts are old, caretakers, the forest elves, provide...
Should we explain what it is?
Yeah, it's... Well, what's that?
It's a surprise bullfight, really, isn't it?
Well, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But what's that game?
Graphics.
Yeah, what's that 2600 game? Like, revolutionised, sort of... It's the first... where you're the little guy stickman walking from room to room and shooting in 4 directions. One of the most influential games of all time. You're just a stickman. Anyway, it's that. I don't know. I mean,
retro games.
No, I mean, I can't remember what it was called. It probably didn't even have a title. It's probably just called fucking Space, which is the
fucking
title.
Space, yeah, it's probably called that.
Oh god, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's by a guy who calls himself Messhoff. Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, and you dodge balls. That.
Well, yeah, there's a fat guy lying in a bed and he's wriggling around saying, I need blood, and you go out and you stab balls, bring the hearts back, he eats them when you die 3 times. I think, from what I can gather, you're meant to be his 3 children. And once all the children are dead, he dies and says, how could you leave me like this, and all his skin falls off. It's, yeah. I mean, it's
and you can play it on the Adult Swim website if you want to. Yeah,
games.adultswim.com. The average is like 4.6 out of 10 rating, and that's generous. I mean, it's just crap. But I mean, I think, like I was saying, I thought they were trying to be a bit off the wall with the story and the dialogue. But it's clearly just like a kids. Maybe it's their first game.
Yeah. But
big-
yeah, I've forgotten I played that.
Big ups to Symmetrical Dog who did the soundtrack.
Wait, he's a good guy.
Yeah, I mean, some good tunes on there. Check it out. No, don't.
Yeah, really. My number 9 is a game that I've probably played every week for ages. It's Grid Runner on the iOS. Have you got it yet?
I'll do it this week. I keep forgetting.
I think it's got to be the best of its kind on iPhone now. Now I've played it more and more. Found out this week that if you turn the iPhone on its side, you get the old Commodore 64 version just boots up. And you can play that, which is like a much sort of blippier version of what you're playing anyway. And then you can turn it back up to portrait view. And you can continue the game that you were playing. Brilliant. Yeah, just I've said it every single week. Just a really, really immaculately designed 2D shooter. Loads of crazy stuff going on the screen. It's kind of funny as well. Works really well on the iPhone. And anyone who likes something that you can kill 5 minutes with perfectly should get it. I can't get enough of it. It's a great game.
Okay, I will get it.
You'll love it, mate. You will love it. I guarantee it.
Is there like leaderboards and stuff? I assume there's.
I don't actually know. I think you can game center it, and then there are. So yeah.
Game Centre for the birds, mate.
What?
Game Centre. I've no time for that. I don't want to just like every game. Hi, log in, password. No, thank you.
But isn't that how you get the leaderboards?
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just because it's a shooter.
You could just write it down on a piece of paper.
What, the game?
Your score, and then you can have your own leaderboard.
And then I can ring up and go, ha, fuck you,
Yeah.
I got 6 million, eat that.
And you can send it as a letter.
Right, you got, okay, this is good. This is good. Right, okay, my number 9, The Splatters on.
Oh right, yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, I did the trial. I didn't really play the game. I just did the trial. You've heard about it, or you've actually played it?
It got 9 on Destructoid, so I was like, oh, what's that? And I started reading the review, and I was like, oh, I don't want to play that. I don't care that it got 9.
Yeah,
But maybe it's good.
That's a real surprise that it got a 9. That really surprises me. I can't talk though. This is me being a complete and utter twat because I have only played it for about 15 minutes. I did the trial. It's slick as fuck. Although I wouldn't pay 1,200 points for it based on the trial in a million
What exactly
years.
do you do in it?
I'll tell you what it is. It's a melding of Peggle, Loco Roco, and Worms.
All right.
And you just sort of aiming this goo. You shoot and you try and sort of.
So what are you trying to do with the goo?
You aim the goo at other bits of goo, and there's some curved sides where you sort of curve it round to hit the other goo. I mean, it's.
And with the ultimate aim being.
Get rid of all the goo, I guess.
Oh, get rid of the goo, right?
Yeah, it's just but it's one of those games that's so. It's like when you see one of those really shit game shows that comes on TV for like 6 episodes and then it's never seen again because it's just too calculated. It's like they take a loads of ideas from other shows and put them together.
Right.
And this is those 3 games. It doesn't have an original bonus, but it's slick as hell. It looks really great, but I shouldn't really be talking about it like I know what I'm talking about because, like I said, I played it for 15 minutes, but it did fucking nothing for me. And I hope there's some kind of, system about how they price these games because that is not worth 12. If it's getting 9s, it is worth 1,200. If you want a puzzle game, go get it. It's amazing. I don't know why I even talked about it. I've played the trial. Bollocks.
I'll tell you what's not worth 1,200 points. My number 8.
Go on.
Which is a game called Got Cow on the iPhone. It's all iPhone at the beginning of my list, so I apologise if you haven't got one. Remember Angry Birds Space? I've talked about it a bit in the last couple of episodes. This is the same. It's just the same. I'd be very intrigued to see who came up with the idea first. The user reviews on Got Cow claim that Got Cow came up with the idea first, but I don't reckon it did. Because basically you're a cow in space, fuck knows why, and you shoot missiles trying to shoot aliens, and the missiles, you kind of shoot them exactly the same way as you flick a bird in Angry Birds, and then the missiles go into orbits exactly like Angry Birds Space's ones. I mean, they look identical. They even have the same fuzzy outline of the orbits. And it works in exactly the same way. So it's kind of hard to be too harsh on it because it's clever physics going on here. And it's kind of cool. If Angry Birds Space didn't exist, then people would probably be raving about this, saying it was a really clever idea. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the polish or the variety of Angry Birds Space, so it comes off as some weird I'm hesitant to call it a rip-off because I'm only guessing it came after. They might have come up with the idea and Rovio might have nicked it. It may well and probably is parallel thinking, and maybe the Got Cow people changed the look so it looks the same. Who knows? It's a mystery. But if you're going to get a space-based orbital physics pointless cartoon action game, get Angry Birds Space, not Got Cow.
Isn't there a way of checking who uploaded their game first?
Angry Birds Space came first, but you don't know who developed. They may have been. Right. They're saying that we were in development first, but there's no way they could have knocked up the whole game in the time since Angry Birds came out. So it's weird. It's like the most boring mystery of all time, but it's still a mystery.
We were in development. Isn't it just some specky guy in his flat in his pants? Isn't that it?
No, that's you.
That's very true. Occasionally getting up to play some Star Wars Connect. But isn't the dev teams on games like that? It's a one-man band always, isn't it?
To be fair, it's the user reviews that have said he. No one said we. I've misquoted there, so he's not saying it. The developer, it's the user reviews, which to me read like mates of his, because they're all perfectly well written.
Okay.
But they might not be. I can't. There are no facts here. That's the mystery. It's one for old Cole Phelps on LA Noire DLC.
Okay, good point. Very good point. Right, okay, my number 8. It's another trial, so I'm going to completely shut it down and say that it's shit and then change my mind. SkullGirls.
All right, that's my number later on.
I thought so. Do you want to save it? I mean, I thought it was all right.
Well, let's see what you thought from the trial, and then I'll chat about it later.
I just thought it was. I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it. I played it for about same sort of time as the Splatters, about sort of 15-20 minutes, and I thought it was fine. Really, really good looking. The only thing that wound me up was the message on the screen when you download the trial, which says, "Thank you for downloading the trial. Now please form an orderly queue and go and buy the real version." Something along those lines. And it's not like a character with a speech bubble. That's on the menu, and it's like, fuck off! Don't just the arrogance. It's like form an orderly queue. I'm probably wildly misquoting. I bet you I'll turn it on now, and it doesn't even say it, and I just dreamt it.
You just hallucinated it.
Fuck! I shouldn't review trials because you spend such a short amount of time with it. I'll probably go back and it's like, please don't feel the need to buy our game. Have it free.
Yeah, but it's not a review. It's just. If you were saying that you played the game but you'd only played the trial and you didn't allude to the fact you played the trial, then you're in murky waters.
Okay, but I thought I played it for a bit and it was fun, but fuck me, it was hard. I had a few bouts on.
Later, it is not for the faint of heart, that game at all. Yeah, especially against the AI.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I thought it was okay. So I'll talk to you more about it later on.
Yeah, real talk. Right, my number 7. Oh, it's iPhone again. Sorry, it does change later in the list, I promise. It's a game called Creavures. I think that's how you say it. It's like creatures, but with a V instead of a T. I mean, fuck knows why. Oh, I just worked out why, because there's 5 of them, and it's a V. Just worked it out just then. I hate myself. It's a platform game. Do you remember the Lost Vikings?
Yes.
Back in the day, and stuff like Trine, like those types of platform games that like puzzle platformers, and you need to team up with people to overcome the obstacles.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. There are 5 animals in it. They've got shit names like Bitey, that's a cat that bites. Pokey is like a porcupine that pokes. Yeah.
It's winding me up already.
Yeah. It does make you always want to fucking bite your iPhone in half. But it's like it was a PC game from 2009, I think, converted over. Really like nice pin sharp graphics, kind of all neon-y, like dark. You're in a dark forest, but everything's kind of tinged neon. Looks okay, kind of a bit murky and depressing in some ways. And it's like a really perfunctory game. Like you go, oh, that's a clever idea. Like the cat has a tail that the fat porcupine needs to swing to get across the gap. That sort of stuff. You've seen it a million times before. It's fine. I think it worked in many ways better as like sort of PC indie game, even though it cost a hell of a lot more than it does as an iPhone game, partly because it's a little fiddly to control, but also you can be a bit more forgiving of something like that for being a bit experimental 2009 in the indie space. But in 2012, where so many iOS games are so accomplished for the device, it just came off as a little bit amateurish. and you've seen all the ideas before pretty much, even though there's different execution in here. It's not one I'd massively recommend, but it does look nice. And again, it's only 69p, so if you're after something with a stupid name, then it's all right.
Okay, yeah. I think I'll
Yeah,
swerve
I
that.
mean, I'm playing that because I had to review it. I don't just randomly find it on the App Store and decide to download it.
What did you give it?
So, 7, I think, because it's one of those ones where you have to be a bit. You can't let the fact that the names of the things wind you up to giving it a bad score. It's a well-made game. It just didn't excite me particularly.
Oh, Bitey and Pokey came up on my screen. I'd give it a 1 out of 10 straight away.
You'd have only have played the trial.
Yeah, but I wouldn't tell anyone that. I'd be like, yeah, come on, I've played it 3 times. Whatever. Okay, my number 7 is Hero Academy.
Still playing. You should invite me to a game.
Say that again.
It's weird that you've done that. You should invite me to a game of Hero Academy.
Oh, do you know what? That never even fucking occurred to me. How bizarre.
Oh, thanks.
No, but I mean, I'm playing it with a couple of mates, and to be honest, it's whenever I get the ping saying it's time for your go, it's half dread and it's half like. Do you know what? It's getting to the point where I am convinced that it's basically noughts and crosses, tic-tac-toe, because I've been in stalemates that go on for such a long time that I'm just convinced that as soon as it's the first person to fuck up, basically.
I don't know. I've been in ones where I've thought that I was going to lose and then had like valiant comebacks right at the end by powering up my ninja or something like that and using him to take them out when they've made little small mistakes in their assault.
That's what I mean. I'm in a game at the moment where we've both started off. We've both created a defensive wall. Step forward, knock him down. You've got the guys to revive them. They can't step on him. It's just tit for tat. I don't think I'm ever going to warm to it. But yeah, that's what can I say?
You still got a fair amount of time out of it though.
I don't really enjoy playing it.
Yeah, I get that
for many
with,
reasons.
Those types of games that ping you, you do get sort of filled with dread a little bit sometimes. Even in the ones that I like, you're like, oh, not now.
I don't know.
I haven't played it for ages, to be honest. I might get back into it again.
Well, I'll send you an invite just so we can see.
Yeah, I won't set up a defensive wall. I like to attack anyway. So.
All right. Well, yeah, let's do that.
All right. So it's my number 6, right?
Yes.
My number 6 is Furmins. I talked about it before. I think I might have talked about it in the very first episode. Final iPhone game of the week, I promise. Furmins is the puzzler from Housemarque, the guys that did Outland, they did Super Stardust, they did Dead Nation. It's their like iOS debut, where you have these little stupid, fluffy, cuddly things that fall down into levels where you kind of have to construct Rube Goldberg contraptions to get them to their home.
Oh yeah.
It's like somewhere between Lemmings and Peggle, I'd say, because it has gravity physics. It's a really smart game. The cutesy graphics kind of don't do it justice because it's a lot smarter and more devious than it seems. And it's one of the best puzzlers on the iPhone, I think. Every time when you set up the contraption right and you have to move the little, like you move a trampoline here, a little like conveyor belt that you can switch here. There's like an ice block that melts at time. You have to make sure your little guys get there. But like after the ice block melts, otherwise they'll get stuck. Like every time you do it and you hit it and you hit play and they all fall out and they end in the home. It's really satisfying and makes you feel clever, even though you're probably not, which I'm not. It's really good. I think Furmins deserves to be a lot bigger than it probably will be because they kind of messed up by making it. I don't know. I think maybe they thought they'd be able to sell plush toys of them or something, but then they're really cunty. You don't want to toy that.
Yeah.
But the game's good.
All right. I've already forgotten. Trial?
No, there's very rarely trials.
Oh, of course, you told me that already. I'm just an idiot. I rarely go on the App Store, that's why. I mean, I've never...
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these games I've discovered through being asked to review them, and some are really middling. There's rarely terrible games, but there's a lot of middling games. But that one really stood out to me as like a real good iPhone game. Like a solid, full-functioning game that doesn't feel compromised in any way. It feels like it's built for the phone and is well worth playing. Because those guys know what they're doing. They're a great studio.
Genuine, no doubt. All right, okay. My number 6 is Battlefield 3.
No shit.
Yeah. Surprise. they've finally it wasn't working initially, but they've got the feature now so you can rent your own server, and it's fantastic. I've never rented a server before because I don't tend to play games like that online. On PC. But having that, it's like you can rent one for 24 hours, 120 Microsoft points.
That is pretty reasonable, I guess, although I don't know the economy of these sorts of things, but that doesn't sound expensive.
No, same here, but as soon as that came up, I was up. If we were playing every Friday night, I'd shell that out every Friday to have our own server.
It's much less than the price of a couple of cans, isn't it, that you'd have anyway?
The only issue is that I really hope EA haven't used that as an excuse to take their own servers offline, because we searched for quite some time to find an official EA server, because that's one thing that's annoying about everyone having their own servers. You could be playing, having an absolutely banging game, and then one of the fucking twats who opened it can just boot you.
Oh, right.
I don't have time for that. But we couldn't find any official EA servers. We found a couple of DICE ones, but they were always, round full. But this seems like a really crafty tactic if that's what they've done. And I rented a server on the weekend, and unless you've got a full team to get the ball rolling, so people start joining and there's like a rotation going on, nothing happens. We had basically I hired also for 24 hours. It was a lot less than 24 hours. It was more like 20 hours, and they took it offline. When I went back on to try and have another go, they'd already taken it down, which is a bit
sneaky.
Yeah, but yeah, if you don't get the room going yourself, it will just sit there and no one will click on it, and it will just die. So it's only worth doing if you've got like a team of 6 or 8 to start with. Otherwise, you're fucked.
And then people can just find it on the server browser, can they, and join in randoms.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought I'd be a bit, I called it, all it was puns of names of maps, so daft shit. But everyone else, the busy ones were like XXX snipers, hey, XXX no camping, just action, pure, the best action maps, all that, just garbage.
Right.
But they had people in them, so I suppose I'll have to adapt to that. One thing I won't do is call it UK gays. I started a room in a lobby when I was playing Mortal Kombat. Me and a few mates were playing Mortal Kombat, and I called it UK gays, just why not? See what happens.
Yeah.
I had about 6 friend requests in the space of about 20 minutes, and it kind of, made me feel a little bit weird. So I shut the room down and just deleted the friend requests.
Did you really?
Made me feel a little bit weird, but yeah, that's another story. But that
really is another story. I'd like to see where that one goes.
Well, it doesn't go anywhere. I said this is making me feel a little bit.
I like the story.
Yeah. I was lapping it up, boy.
Right. My number 5 is thankfully not on iPhones. It's Kid Icarus. You got it yet?
No, I've been told it's coming.
Right.
So I will play.
It is the shit. I've got very little bad to say about Kid Icarus. Last week, I think I said that I was just about to get to the bit that I'd heard where it all starts to go crazy. So this week, I got to the bit where it goes crazy, and I think it's level 5. That will go down as one of the great levels, as far as I'm concerned. It's called, fucking hell, I can't remember what it's called. Something to do with Pandora or mystery. Great. Good job, John. You've done really well there, not being able to remember a basic thing. Yeah, it's like going into a surreal, constantly shifting. Imagine if Shigeru Miyamoto directed a Nightmare on Elm Street film, got rid of Freddy Krueger, and just stuck a fucking weird Groucho Marx mask enemy in there, and everything shifts all the time. You're slipping in and out, and then you'll be upside down in a different reality. And
he murdered loads of children and stuff.
Yeah, Shigsy. He's Master Shig.
No. Okay, right. Sorry.
The son of 1,000 Pikmin. Yeah, it's just one of those. Every second of that level, you're like, wow, this is so inventive and clever and weird and could not exist. Nobody else would have thought this. And then it kind of almost turns into the 4th level boss of Res, if you remember that one, the running man, where you're going through like the.
That's of course, no, the giant running bloke. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, like that really famous one. And yeah, and from there the game just keeps picking up steam. The story's really good, it's still really funny. I actually got to grips with the on-ground controls to the point where I prefer the on-ground levels, and I've read a lot of people that say that about the second half of the game you might actually start to prefer the stuff on the ground to the flying stuff. All the flying stuff's amazing, but it's kind of short-lived, and on the ground you've got much more control because you're dodging and kind of sweeping in and out and hitting them in close and dodging back out. The controls are really weird, but once you get the hang of them, they're still a bit like hand crampy, and there might be a better way of doing them maybe, but there is. But it would make it less idiosyncratic and less interesting to just do it normally with 2 sticks. So yeah, mate, it's just so good. And then there's this whole meta game with the loot and the crafting of items, and you can take them into a practice range to see which is better than which, and it's just classic Nintendo.
Are you doing it with the thing?
The stand?
Yeah.
No, not even bothered trying to put it on a stand, because I've got, me, my back and neck problems. I don't want to be hunched over a desk. It's boring, so I didn't. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'll just work out some other way of doing it.
Yeah, fair play.
But yeah, you and I got big hands, so it's not really a problem.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna. I should have it before next week, I hope. So I'm gonna.
You'll love
smash
it.
I'm sure.
I'm
sure. Okay, my number 5, Mass Effect 3. Still grinding our way.
Multi?
Yeah, still grinding our way through the multiplayer. We're getting to the point now where we're pretty much statted up. We're like about. Unless you're obsessive, we're pretty much as statted up and hardcore as you can get. So we should be able to tackle it on the maps on gold, the hardest difficulty. I don't think I meant to check actually if there's some kind of public display of like gamers' achievements, so I can see how many people will get a grasp on how many people, if any, have got the achievement for doing them on gold, because it's so difficult. It's so difficult. We're pretty good at it now. We're pretty. We should. We don't want it to be a walk in the park, but we've tried levels on gold and the first wave straight away.
Yeah. What takes you out?
Yeah, it's just relentless. All the guys are normally in the last wave of the silver, and yeah, you mincemeat. The 3 new maps are great though. Yeah, and we're gonna get 2 of my friends are obsessed, so we're gonna keep playing it. But I've lost a bit of enthusiasm because I'm starting to believe that it's actually impossible to complete, which kills the enjoyment a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be tough for me to ever get around to playing it, I think. And then the appeal's already going. I don't really like Mass Effect Combat. I just don't really like it. Not enough to play. Not enough to pay to play it.
Yeah, okay, well that's fair enough. Yeah, I it's not something I intended to get this into, but all you just have to say is it's 10 times better than expected. That's all.
Yeah, it does sound that. It's almost uniformly praised by everyone I've spoken to. So my opinions on it are irrelevant, really, because I haven't played it. But it's just that kind of hunch that I don't think I'll enjoy it, but I probably would. Right, my number 4 is SkullGirls. Like I said. I played it quite a lot. Did a review for it. I don't think it's up yet for a website, but it'll probably be up next week. It's a really, really well designed fighting game that is specifically for people who know their shit about fighting games. Again, you'll get crushed by the AI on the easiest difficulty almost straight away. It doesn't hold back. It's like, here are the systems of this game. You're either going to learn them or you're just going to get fucked up and you'll never be able to play it. Playing online was a joke as well. I'm never going to hit the level where I could compete online, and I accept that. For people who don't know, it's a 2D fighting game with like sprite graphics, really nicely animated. All the characters are female. They at first seem a little bit like gratuitous, but in actual fact there's this kind of weird combination of Golden Age Hollywood, Tex Avery cartoons, anime, S&M, and like Art Deco. It's a really weird, unique style. I like it. But it's a game, like I said this in my review, they might as well be stickmen, because the fucking game is all about frames and like punishing and advantages and systems and chains. It is a 2D fighting game for people who know about 2D fighting games. Thankfully, is the tutorial in the trial?
I can't remember. I definitely didn't do it. I just jumped into a match, but I don't know if the
really
option was there.
lengthy tutorial. I did wonder because I
probably
went straight
isn't.
to the full version. The tutorial is the best tutorial in any fighting game ever. It explains, does the first bit like how to move, how to punch, blah 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 blah, but then it quickly you graduate to the point where you're getting taught every single element of its systems and the terminology involved. You know, we talked the other week when we were talking about Street Fighter Cross Tekken about all that language that people use that we don't have a clue what they're talking about.
Yeah.
This brings you through it step by step in layman's terms. The whole thing takes about 20 minutes to do. And then you have to you get told a thing, what it means, and then you have to do it. But it's gradual every single time. None of the tasks are beyond the skill level of you and I on an arcade stick at all. And by the end of it, I was like, fucking hell, I have such a new understanding of this genre now that I feel like I've now been able to take that step to understand what these people are talking about. That doesn't mean that I'm going to suddenly obsess over fighting games, but just the fact that there's never been this ability to learn that stuff until now, really, unless the way I talk about it is like me, I think, you know, you play a lot of 2D fighters back in the day, Street Fighter 2, and then I was into 3D fighters when they came out, and I didn't really play many 2D fighters. I'd have a game on Street Fighter Alpha every now and then I got back into 2D in a big way with Street Fighter 4, and I'm guessing you're a similar path, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So there was this whole group of people who stuck with them and learned all these complicated new systems through Street Fighter 3, etc., and, you know, Guilty Gear and all that sort of stuff, whereas a large chunk of people like you and I didn't, so we kind of got left out in the cold, and suddenly fighting games are 10 times more complicated than they used to be when we were kids, and where you can see it happening in front of you but you can't really access it. So this, long story short, if you get a chance to play the SkullGirls tutorial, if you have any interest in 2D fighters, do it. The game's very hardcore. I know people who are super into their fighting games, super into it, and, you know, tournament standard, and they love it. I don't think it's for everyone at all.
That would be a real shame if they haven't put the fucking tutorial in the demo. I didn't notice it. Maybe I just skipped straight to the game. But if they haven't done, but if it's that if it's 20 minutes on, they might think it's too substantial to put in the trial, which is kind of it's a weird logic. But
to put in a trial, it has its own background and things. So, yeah. Weirdly though, they don't put the fucking command list for any of the characters in the game in the pause menu. You have to go to the website and download a PDF. Just to fucking work out how to do special moves.
Why?
It's maddening. It's making me mad just even talking about it. I can't understand why they do that.
That's another fucking thing that just makes me want to just... The combination of that and the menu going, I hate you, you're a cunt, buy my game. The combination of those two things, never again.
Yeah, but I think I've explained myself reasonably well. It's not for everyone, but if you're really into fighting games, you probably already got it.
Yeah, good point. It's a funny one. It looked great to me, but
it's definitely very good. I've got, you know, systemically, there's very little to fault there.
Genuine. Okay, my number 4, Sinner's Punishment 2 on the Wii.
Right. Okay.
Still. I mean, I played through it again and pissed around, redid some levels and stuff. One of my favorite. It's in my top 10 of all time, I reckon. There's just loads of things I'd forgotten about it. Just the relentless ideas, of course, but also there's nods towards Res, which I forgot. And there's a difficulty spike that I completely forgot about, and it's really annoying because I only knew how to do it after about 5 minutes of tearing my hair out because I remembered how I did it last time. But it's... I do want to play that game. I really do. It's a joke how good it is. It reminded me of Asura's Wrath as well, just in the way that, you know, it's you know when you're sort of flying forward on Asura's Wrath and you're the target. It's kind of like that for most of it, but then it will like Asura's Wrath, it's completely unkempt and it will change. You know, there's bits where it's almost a side-scrolling platformer, sort of, and the perspective shifts around stuff. It's a masterpiece.
I do want to play it,
but
I wish it was HD.
So who cares? You were happy with the standard def?
Yeah, if I had standard def TV all day, no problem. But it just looks like fucking burnt shit on my TV, and it's just annoying. I wish I still had a CRT to play Wii on.
Okay, I play it on high def. It doesn't look that bad to me, but then again, I don't. I don't know. Anyway, but just quickly that boss. The problem with it is that it asks you to react to something. She swipes a sword at you, and you have to sort of block it with your sword, and your sword button tap the trigger. But trigger is also the shoot button. So if you hold it down for any longer than tap, you shoot. And man, that's fucking frustrating. You feel like a king when you've done it, but that just really is a weakness of the design of the game, because the difference between tapping it to do a melee attack and holding it down to shoot is like a fraction of a second. So right. I felt like I was nailing it and I wasn't, and that drove me nuts. But I'll forgive that game anything, so fuck it.
Yeah, I do want to play it one day. I really, really will endeavour to play that game.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, they'll port it to something else. I'm sure they better do, because it can't be forgotten. It's amazing.
Awesome. Right, my number 3 is a game that I think is probably high up on your list as well. It's Fez.
My number 3.
Oh, cool. I'm completely undecided, mate. To be honest, I'm completely undecided. I went in, I read all about it. Everyone was super excited about it in the media. Wasn't doing a review myself, so I was able to do it just off my own back. I was really excited going in. I love stuff like this generally, but I was concerned that my head wouldn't be able to get around it. And then that's basically what happened. Basically, I'll say what happened to me when I was a kid. I mean, I used to live in Brighton when I was very young, 6-7 years old. Our house had a garden, and we used to get on with our next door neighbours, some old people. And when I go into the back garden, they're on my left. And so I'm 6 years old, and I chat to them. But when I went out the front door, their house was on the right, and I could not. And bear in mind, I was a pretty smart kid. I was top of my class and stuff like that. I could not work out how their house moved sides. And ever since then, I've had this weird disconnect with directions. And Fez fucks me up to the point where there is something, it's some like dyslexia of directions or something in my brain, and it's caused me all sorts of trouble. I've walked in the wrong direction in London so many times, it's not even funny. So having to spin a world round to try and work out what direction it should be when you spun it round 180 degrees, my brain actually can't do it. I can't think it or visualise it, I just have to guess.
How did you even get past the first screen?
By just pressing the button until I was like, oh, I can get there now. But I can't, I can't plan ahead. My brain can't do it. So it's all guesswork. It's just pressing a button until, I can do it now. And that seems antithetical to the purpose and joy of the game. But on the flip side of that, once I stopped worrying about it, when I went back to Fez and started taking it less seriously and stopped worrying about what my brain can or cannot do, I started enjoying it more, and then I stopped. So I want to hear what you have to say about it before I talk anymore.
I knew exactly what I thought about Fez until yesterday, when I just randomly stuck it on, and I haven't reevaluated what I think, but I know that I'm not done with it yet.
I think the exact same things happened to me. I really do.
I mean, I was so happy with the way I felt about it, in that it was not for me. I mean, one thing I do think that's wrong with it is that it's quite dishonest about what it actually is. The first 3.5 hours are one thing, and then the actual game reveals itself, and it's nothing like that. There's something very, very. I mean, if I say dishonest, but that's quite negative. I mean, it was negative. 2 days ago, I was just like, yeah, it's not, upfront about what it is. It's. My feelings are very weird. First of all, I don't think that the things that everyone's praised, the first half of the game, the first 3 hours, I should say, of the game, which is all based on that dynamic, people have compared it to top flight AAA, like first party Nintendo stuff, and that is way overstating it. There are a couple of nice moments, like, have you got to the bit where you sort of force the explosion to travel round to...
That's just where I am. That's exactly where I am.
That's a really nice moment. There's a couple of cool block puzzles and stuff, but it's not breathtaking, I don't think. It never made me feel that's great. I kind of breezed through it until... so you haven't got to the...
That's basically where I am. I'm just doing that, spinning the thing around and exploding stuff. Okay,
well, I mean, I've got to the observation tower with the telescope, and everything becomes incredibly cryptic. And a lot of people have used the word obtuse, and it is obtuse, but some people like that. I'm not one of them. And the unnecessarily sort of vague map really wound me up.
that thing with my brain is a joke. It's just like I turned it on the second I saw it. I was like, "Yep, there's nothing. I can gain nothing from this."
But it's not even, I mean, especially if you have a problem with direction. You know, you walk through a door, the camera, the perspective zooms into the background, so you see where you're going. If you walk back through the same door, it doesn't go backwards; it just goes forwards again. So you can't. Your brain doesn't have any sense of whether you're progressing or you're backtracking.
It couldn't be any worse the way my brain works. It's just a nightmare.
It's like you're always going forward, and then there's doors that you leave. And then you're like, maybe that's the way forward, but it's not that. It's not what it's. That's not what it's about. And I've learned that since going back to it and the map didn't even seem that intimidating. I actually looked at it, realised that those little discs that show different parts of the world, there is actually a little visual cue which I didn't realise as to where that part of the world is and what it looks like, so you know kind of where you're going.
Right.
I turned it on the other day, didn't know where I was, walked into a door. Brought the map up. I basically followed the map, found a goal, completed it, and I was like, fuck. And the sort of Sunday afternoon laziness, the fact that there's no enemies and you can't die, and it's a very specific type of game. The only thing that I think is that people could play the first 3 hours, and then it's like riding a roller coaster into a brick wall, because it becomes a completely different game.
I don't even know what happens, so I'm intrigued. Just by you saying that.
But it becomes a different game. I mean, a completely different game. Something that doesn't even really incorporate the perspective shifting. It's a mystery to me. I'm going to stick with it. I don't think I'm going to end up solving any of the puzzles, but I'm going to stick with it and see what happens, because having been dead set that it's not for me, although that's another thing I'll say. It's like Journey. It's a must-buy. The money that you pay is worth it just to find out whether it's your thing or not.
Yeah.
It's absolutely worth it. And I'm judging it like it's a full price game. I mean, 3 hours of really, really entertaining platforming. It's not to be, for 800 points, you can't really.
Of course, yeah.
So I'm a mess. I don't even know what I think about it yet, but I need to try and finish it, I think.
I listened to the Giant Bombcast today, and I'm up and down on those guys, but they did a great thing on Fez for about 30 minutes of them just talking about it, praising it, almost like we've done, but and one of them ended up saying it's like the actual recreation of someone's descent into insanity in a video game, and I was like, that kind of piqued my interest. I'm like, this probably isn't what I think it is right now. I definitely need to go back and check out and play more, and ignore the fact that my brain doesn't work, and just try and sort of kind of force myself through this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a little. But I mean, the puzzles are getting. They've already got to the point where I know that I don't think I could ever. I'd have to cheat, and that completely defeats the whole objective.
But they were saying the same thing on that podcast. They were saying, if you feel like that, just cheat. It's worth it. That's what they're saying. They finished it.
Oh wow!
They say don't beat yourself up. Just cheat. Don't worry about it.
That's okay. Fuck. That's weird.
Yeah.
All right. Well, no, I'm not. I'm totally not done with it yet. And like I said, it's essentially a must buy. If you have an Xbox 360 and you're even vague, if you're aware of its existence, buy it, because either you'll enjoy it more than enough to warrant the purchase, or you'll fall madly in love with it. And that's really. I love. I popped onto a couple of gaming forums over the last few days, and just people are so madly in love and just like feverish about how in love with this game they are, and that I just love that as someone who loves video games. It's so nice to see people so enamoured like that. But yeah, I'm not done with it yet. But my perspective in the last sort of 48 hours has done a complete U-turn. So
brilliant. Your perspective's done a U-turn. You couldn't describe it any better.
Genuine.
Good stuff. So that's both our number threes, right?
Yes.
So my number two is The Witcher 2.
My number two as well.
Oh, look at this. And I'm guessing our number ones are the same as well. We won't spoil that just yet. I spent a really unproductive few hours with The Witcher 2 where I just kept dying. I just wasn't. I think I was tired or something, but I wasn't preparing myself before fights properly, and I was kind of playing it like the game that it isn't. I was trying to hack and slash everything, and I kept forgetting to save, and I was like, oh, this is really annoying me. And then I did a thing. I'm still really early on in the game. It was like the quest with the drunk troll. Have you done that?
Drunk troll. Are you still in?
I'm still in Flotsam. Yeah.
Flotsam.
Like I said, I had a really unproductive few hours with it. I basically achieved nothing for 2 hours, like a Dark Souls 2 hours where nothing happens because I kept fucking up. But then there's a troll who refuses to fix a bridge because he wants vodka, and you talk to him, you have a fight with him, and he's like, "Get me vodka. My wife's dead. They chopped her head off." He doesn't sound like I'm speaking. He sounds Russian. So you have to go and find out what happened to his wife. And so the first thing I did is I thought, well, what would I do if I was actually in this ridiculous situation? I go to the pub and find my boys that I know are probably in there. So I went in there, and the dwarf's in there, so I went and talked to him, and one of the options is that you can ask him, have you heard anything about this? And you have a conversation about it, and he says, he's like, do you know what, someone's probably like chopped a head off as a trophy and stuck it on their wall. You should go and have a look around the other houses, see what's going on. So I was like, well, that was cool. So the first place I went to was another bar, or it might have been a brothel, I'm not sure. And there's people in there getting pissed, soldiers with that other main bloke, Vern. So I ended up having arm wrestling things with these soldiers and getting smashed drunk, and then forgetting exactly about everything that I was supposed to be doing with that quest. And then you wake up and you've got no clothes on and you're hungover and you've got no swords and someone's there and you're in the street, and the line was this guy's trying to talk to you, and the Witcher just stops him and goes, listen, I'm a Witcher and I'm massively hungover right now. And I just said, that is one of the most organic things that's ever happened to me in a video game. This felt like not real life, because the whole scenario is ridiculous, but it was like that you could see that happening. You're getting sidetracked, getting pissed, forgetting about exactly what you're supposed to be doing. I was like, that's brilliant.
Fuck.
So
yeah.
that brought me back round. I was like, that's just superb. There's a quest in Skyrim where you get pissed and you lose everything and wind up somewhere, but that's something you have to go and activate, and it's a bit more calculated. It's still a brilliant quest, but this just felt like if I'd never been in that room this wouldn't have happened, and I could have just gone about my business in another way. But now I'm on a completely different path because of really natural stuff that really fits with my character in the story. Like he would do that if he got all these soldiers were getting rowdy and doing a bit of arm wrestling. He'd do that. This guy, he'd get involved. So yeah, I was really impressed by that.
Fuck yeah, that sounds great. I don't think I did that mission. I might have moved out of Flotsam before I had the chance to do it, but it rings a bell. So if it was in the original, I probably did it on the PC. It's made. I don't know. It's probably because I predominantly play consoles more than I do on the PC. It's grabbed me so much more. I mean, I loved it. It was when I did my top 10 of last year. It was at like number 9 or 10, I think. But this is just. It's so good. I'm loving every second of it. Although the worst bug from the PC version, which fucked me over when I played that, also is on this one, where you can't meditate, so you can't do any spell. You can't create any spells and stuff like that. And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, I was just walking around trying to do anything. It's not like you need to be away from enemies, you need to be by a fire. Any of that stuff was covered. It's just that it's a break in the game. And I remember it happened to me on the PC. It fixes itself. I mean,
right.
I all of a sudden it's fixed, but I don't know what fixed it and whether it will fix it if it happens to you. But I was tearing my hair out at one point because I had a mission to do, and it's like wait until dark, and I'm like, fuck, it's like 2 hours, so I had to leave my Xbox on this. It was, fucking dry. But man, what a fucking game it is.
Yeah, it's who would have thought you and I, say if we were talking 5 years ago, that we'd be this into hardcore RPGs.
No way.
And I think that's maybe it's us getting a bit older and a bit more tolerant of certain things, but I think it's the genre, and I talked about it before. I really think it's just moving and becoming. I can't think of the right words. It's achieving everything that it's sort of led up to this point. That's a terrible explanation. I said it better last week.
No, I can't even find the words. I dare say it's the best.
Proper challenging adult gaming.
Yes, and it's
for grown-ups,
yeah,
just like Sopranos and The Wire.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And Game of Thrones, obviously.
Long live it. May there be a Witcher 3 in like 5 minutes.
Sure there will be. So that was both our number 2, so I'm pretty sure both our number 1s is Trials Evolution, right?
Oh, it's yours. That's your number 1.
Yeah,
of course it is. It's my number 1. It's my it's so much my number 1. It should be my number 0 times million. I don't know.
even know what to say about what they've managed to achieve for a 1,200 point Xbox Live arcade game.
It's ridiculous.
I'd pay some sort of medal or some sort of treat.
I'd pay. Well, I'm sure that the riches should be forthcoming, because if you have an Xbox 360 and you don't buy it, you're a nutcase. I would pay happily 40 quid for Trials Evolution. I'd if it was on a disc, 40 quid. I wouldn't even fucking think twice. It's a joke. It's a joke. A, how good it is, and B, how much content is on there.
It's intimidating to me how much content there is on there almost.
Really?
Not much. I'm not scared of it, but it's just like, shit. What the hell am I going to do next? Am I going to see everything that I need to see? Where should I go? What should I do next? Should I do the single player? Should I play some more multi? Should I go on this track central thing? And should I try and build a track? Should I try and make my own 2D shooter or FPS? Should I, how is this all in an arcade game?
When was the last time that you stayed up really late playing a game and you knew that it was too late and you needed to go to sleep, but you didn't look at your watch because you didn't really want to know what time it was, and then when you finally got around to looking at your watch, the time made you break out in a cold sweat?
Yeah, I mean, that was Mass Effect, but yeah, we've all done it many, many times.
That happened to me the other day, because Trials is just, we started out playing multiplayer, me and some, you were there briefly with us lot.
Yeah, but when I was there, good. I played for about 90 minutes.
No, you're on fucking crack. You were a half hour, I say?
No. I was there a while, mate. I promise you.
Okay.
Yeah, I played shitloads.
Well, we after you left, we were still there for quite some time, and there was a very jubilant sort of party atmosphere, because the multiplayer is just funny.
It's just a riot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just fantastic. But then we started we stayed in party chat, but we started going and doing different things. And someone would set a high score, and he'd say, and we just back and forth. But then we found that jetpack game, which I think that's when you were still playing, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was just as I finished. We found the jetpack game. Yeah.
We all started doing it, comparing. It was still like quite a rowdy atmosphere, but then it was silent for about half an hour, and you just pictured all of us perched on the edge of our couches trying to get the fucking high score on that stupid jetpack game. And
so I'm assuming my one fell then.
I know I know I've beaten it. Actually, no, of course you. I mean, because I've seen a couple of them on there tonight, and that's what they would have gone straight for.
Yeah.
But I mean, man, it's one of the most compulsive games that's ever been made. I've not known anything like it.
Yeah, if people don't know, we should just say quickly. I mean, it's the sequel to Trials, so you've got all the classic Trials motorbike stuff, motocross, platformy stuff, plus 4-player synchronous multiplayer, plus an entire Little Big Planet game that I can't even compute is in there. You can build your own tracks and you can build your own games. So yeah, I mean, people don't know that.
Yeah, the actual guys who made the Trials game have made first-person shooters. They've made up-scrolling sort of 2D shooters.
Yeah, they made an Angry Birds thing, a foosball table.
I mean, it's nuts. And there's hardly any loading times. There's something so. It reminds me of like an affable sort of surfer dude. Just the way that everything it does, there's so much. The loading times aren't even that great. Every time you do a track and bounce out of it accidentally on any other game, you'd be like, "Oh fuck, did that save? It's always saved, man. It's fine. Chill out." And when you download a new track or a new game, it's done.
It's like second.
What? It's just like, I mean, it's a joke. It
feels like they might have almost sold their souls to the devil or something to be able to create something that good.
Yeah, and the next Trials game will probably be half the size and be on a disc for 40 quid. But this is it feels almost future-proofed. Why would you need another Trials game? I just played a couple of not even highly rated ones, just ones user-created motocross tracks, and fuck, they're really all right. I mean, they must be quite easy to use because people were doing some really, really sort of neat little tracks. Oh man, god damn it! I've heard the soundbite, the best XBLA game of all time, all over the internet about it, and that's it. That's what it is.
It's got to be, isn't it? I mean,
but even if you appreciate the package and the fucking work that went into it, it's unbelievable.
And above all else, the core gameplay is superb.
Yeah, it's pretty much faultless. Yeah.
Blimey, yeah. There's a lot of love at the back end of this podcast.
Yes,
So-
the back end of this podcast.
Yes, it's been a good one. Lots of exciting games this week, and I'll probably be covering a lot of them again next week, I would have thought.
Yeah, and
because,
I've got some exciting stuff next week. Really
Yeah,
exciting.
as do I. It's all exciting time. So thank you very much for listening, as always. It's massively appreciated. If you'd like to check out our website, which actually has some editorial on there as well now. I've been promising it for weeks, but it's actually up there on thefiniteplaylist.com. You can follow us on Twitter there as well. Please subscribe on iTunes if you'd like, and even leave a review. That would be even better. Again, thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
10 games in 55 minutes.
I think there's something you should know about me. I just happen to like trials, I like danger, I like fire, I like nitro, I like getting in wild, I like a bit of blast, I like taking it fast, I like going to the end of